Welcome back. Over the last 3 videos, we've taken a deep dive with our colleague Ron de Jager into the connection between trauma and the performing voice. We've talked about the why and explored some practical how-tos. And these conversations have been incredible, yet we know there's also some fantastic questions being raised in people's minds. So for this final video in our series, we identified some of these follow-up questions to put to Ron. So this is our performer trauma Q&A. So Ron, again, thank you for staying with us for all this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So question number 1, we focused heavily on singers because that's obviously your area of expertise and research. But the core idea, you talked about the body keeps the score in a previous video, and that's a universal thing. So what is one thing that anyone listening, singer or not, can take away from this work about listening to their own body as part of their healing journey?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think our body just tells us a lot. And it almost seems like nowadays we're just so busy that we just stop to pay attention. And so listening is such a great art. And I think listening to what the body is telling you. So when there's tension, there's pain, things like that, where's it come from? Why is it coming? And so in relation to singing, if there's tension, it's like, where does that come from? Why is it there? And I think, just starting practices, especially if you're a singer, with basic things like lining your body up and actually starting to breathe. Because I think taking time to breathe is probably one of the most valuable things we can do in a day, no matter who you are.
Right.
Even when we talk, just taking time to breathe and think, hey, that's on the breath. So I have something we're saying, I'm going to breathe and now I'm going to say it instead of jumping in, and creating all the tension. And why do we feel the need to all of a sudden jump in before we're really bodily set up to say what we're going to say? So 2 things, I think, just taking the time to listen. What's my body telling me? If my voice is really tired, or if for some reason I'm singing out of tune that day, if there's a lack of vibrancy in the tone or resonance, or pitch is off, those types of things, what's my body telling? Those are just symptoms, right?
Right.
So when I teach singing, I actually don't use the word flat ever. If someone's like, oh, you're flat, you're flat. It just can have such a psychologically damaging effect on a singer to hear you're flat. Because often they're going to muscle through and push harder to get it higher. And yet, because really that's what I need more of. Rather than, okay, that's just a symptom. So even when I've conducted choirs, if a section is flat, they're out of tune. It means they're not quite reaching the pitch. Why? Is it the vowel? Is it not enough breath? Is it really the shape of the oral pharynx? Those types of things. What's going on? So if I can fix it, I won't fix it, they'll fix it. But if I can help them do that without even knowing that they were flat, then they're like, okay, he just wants me to do this. And all of a sudden they're in tune.
Right.
And so
keeps the confidence.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have this kind of negative thing that's going on. So understanding the difference between symptoms and what's actually happening. So the body can be like, hey, I've got these symptoms, what's going on? That can tell us something much deeper. Okay, we can go after this now. And that's probably going to help a lot more than you're flat.
Yes. So things happen, tensions come, and it is stored in our body. And yet it's not like a place of shame or judgment, but how can we fix those things in our body kind of?
Absolutely. And to find release, anybody can find release. There's so many times when we're comparing ourselves to other singers, this one can do this and this one can do that, and I'm stuck here. Unless there's some physical thing that is like you just can't get past, there's really no reason why you can't get to a really freeing state of singing. Now, will it make you sound like this person? No, because you have a different and unique voice. So what's it like to journey and to find your voice and your identity with singing and really your identity, period? How does that all come together to make this performance, that's going to be really meaningful both to you and to the audience.
Yeah. And then in that moment, I'm guessing when it's me and my voice and my identity, then my body is in a relaxed state. It can let go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and the hard part about it is that when you're singing at a high level, your body's actually working really hard.
Yeah.
So you got to relax, but you got to actually work. And so
yes.
it's kind of walking this tightrope of like, how much am I tensing up if I'm working too hard?
Yeah.
Which muscles need to relax? Because when muscles work, they tense and release, right? So if you're lifting weights or something like that, you tense and then you release, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with our body and when we're singing. So how much can we keep the muscles that need to be working and release the ones that are working? Be like, okay, you can do your work now.
Yeah. So then how does this relate then like to other performers, like whether it's actors or dancers or public speakers? Like, are there common parallels you see between those and singers?
Yeah, that's such a good question. An obvious one is between sports.
Sports, okay.
So sports psychology and singing. Like, Barry Green's book, The Inner Game of Music, came from the inspiration of The Inner Game of Tennis originally, and they're around the psychology of performing. And so if someone who does sports has maybe lost the game for their team, that can be incredibly hindering when they can walk into the next game, and how psychologically they're going to be prepared to be like, that was that game, this is this game, we're walking into this one now. And for a singer who maybe lost a competition, didn't get the audition, had bad feedback from a judge or an adjudicator, those types of things, how do they walk in the next performance, or a bad review? Like, the newspapers still review singers, and now it's online where anybody can say anything they like. How do you get past that bad review and walk into the next performance? I was doing The Sound of Music, and I got this horrible review, and I had to walk in the next night. And the whole cast was looking at me, and I thought, you know what, we just got to go on. We're just going to do, tonight's a different night, and we're just going to go through, and we're going to sing the best of our ability with what we have, where we're at right now.
Yeah. So that's like the skeptic in the room. Like, how does someone know it's not just a technical issue? Like, is there a point where you would tell a client or I don't know what you call them, student maybe, like, this is a problem for a vocal coach, not necessarily your counselor. Like, how do you know when it's, I don't know, emotional versus like technique?
Well, I think you might be asking the wrong person, because I teach singing and I'm a therapist.
I know.
So looking at both of them,
well, you're in this unique advantage where you are both. But for other people that aren't both, like me as a counselor, how would I know the difference of being like, actually, this maybe isn't an emotional thing, this is a technical thing?
Yeah, for sure. I would say more than not, it would probably be a lack of, or a technical problem as a result of something that's happening mentally, probably more than the other.
Okay.
And so if we can get the mind to help us release, that's probably going to be a better way to get around it. So sometimes as singers, when they first come to us, we'll trick them into doing things. And I say that in a nice way, but sometimes they'll be like, I just want you to, try this. So like this, lean against the piano and twist like this. So where we're actually releasing the muscles that might be tense. All of a sudden the voice takes off. They're like, what happened? And it's like, we don't have to explain all that happened to them. But I think just being able to get in a space where we can mentally give ourselves permission to release, I think it really will carry over into the voice. So often I'll ask students who have jaw or tongue tension. So when they change pitch, they'll move this. They'll say, how do you change pitch? And they're like, I don't know. You actually just think it. So they've done experiments where they'll tell a coloratura soprano to think a high C, and they're watching her vocal folds, and her vocal folds go boop, and they go right into position,
Really?
and she hasn't sung a note. She just thought it.
Huh?
So to say, I don't need you or you to help me make the pitch. Now, we make certain acoustical adjustments so it's easier to sing certain pitches, like we might release here. But I don't need this to tend and come to get involved in the process. So that's a mental thing, right?
Right.
And so it's like,
right.
how am I going to actually release my tongue? And we have exercise to release tongue and
Okay.
jaw as well. But part of it's locked up in here
Yeah.
as well too.
So it's more likely to go that direction than for it to be like a technical thing.
I want to say yes, and then I'll probably be like, well, maybe not. So,
Oh, okay.
but you're probably right. I would say that the two are just so heavily integrated
Yeah.
that you just can't separate the two of them.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, how can others help, I guess is what I'm wondering. So what advice would you give to a vocal coach or a teacher or even supportive partners who suspects that this person that they care about is struggling with a trauma block? Like, how can they offer support without overstepping?
Right. Yeah. And we run into that a lot as singing teachers because you're working one-on-one with an individual and they're asking you to perform in a vulnerable state and communicate strongly using parts of your body that you maybe don't use when you're walking around during the day. And so it's not uncommon for that to be released in a singing lesson. And so for the singing teacher to realize that might happen even with them doing just their regular teaching. And so I think what is really good for the singing teacher is to be connected with a great practice that you're like, I have some colleagues who are therapists who are really great at dealing with this. You know, talk to them. Here's how we can get you set up. And so at the college I work with, there's a counseling department. I worked very much with people who are in charge there, sending students, here's an opportunity. Not saying, hey, you need counseling.
Something's wrong with you.
Exactly.
Right.
But when the student is ready and the time comes, you'll know, the teacher will know, the student will know. And it's like, I think it might be time.
Yeah.
And I know this from my own experience. I had trauma that was unresolved for many years. And all of a sudden it started to be in my lessons, I started to sing out of tune. I lost resonance. I couldn't improve. There's something going on. And all of a sudden it broke in a lesson one day. And I had not cried for years. And it just all came out.
Wow.
And my teacher was so good. And she said, I think it's time for you to talk to someone. And it was. And it was the music and working with this teacher that really started me on a whole new path and journey. So I'm incredibly thankful to her for being that insightful and be like, hey, I think it's time for you to start maybe take a look at this.
Right. Just the tentativeness, like respect for the singer. Such respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the journey that you know that's ahead of them, and also respect for the journey that's been behind them as well, that's brought them to where they are today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. So for these performers that are struggling with traumatic experiences or with these tensions, like I can only imagine that it feels like a very alone place. And yet it's such a beautiful thing when they can go into a lesson and it's so safe there. And just the release, the physical release of the tensions makes that emotional release of the tensions. And I just like, that must be such a, I was going to say comfort. Is comfort the right word? But knowing that they're not alone in it. Yeah.
Because there's so much of the singer's life that is alone. So hours in the practice room by yourself, right? And it's just you and trying to get a accurate read of what you're doing. You're trying to record yourself a little, listen, see if you can correct. And it's always almost like the negative voice comes in so strong because you got to fix all the time until you get to that level. And I think there just isn't a level. Just sing. And just getting to that point of like, just sing. Don't put on yourself the weight that you've got to perform here or there or get this many views or those types of things. Let's just start to sing and find out what your voice can do, what your voice has to say, and find that freedom. Because it is a lot alone. And when you're giving a recital or something like that, it's you alone. If you're in the recording studio, it's you. I mean, the guy's in the sound booth on the other side, but you're there alone. And so I think just the message is you're not alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the constant comfort is that you actually have the music with you. And the music is the healer. And being able to be a free conduit for that music to flow through and to have the long side of this music's going to go to that person somewhere out there that I've never even met before. And it's going to touch them in a way that I don't even know how it's going to do that.
Yeah.
Just to let go of that and be like, let that be what it's going to be. Let the hearer just let it minister to them, let it heal them, let it bring them joy, whatever it is. Just in that way, you're not alone because you're in there with all those people that you're going to actually touch with your voice.
Right.
And so the aloneness doesn't have to be there. And on a second level, you have really great resources. Get a good voice teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid. Take the courage to call somebody and talk to somebody. And especially if you're doing this at a high level, I recommend getting a therapist who you can trust, who can walk through these things with you and know that, hey, you know what? You're not alone.
Yeah.
And so you've got some great tools that just become natural, but you just gradually start to see a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And you see the picture of like, oh, there's that person. Just imagine out in the audience who's just hurting because of this. And I'm going to sing this song and it's going to touch them in a way that I don't even know. And so visioning that instead of my imperfections and that I sang this note wrong and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's not about that. How's it going to touch that person over there?
Yeah. That just like takes the pressure, like removes it out somehow or yeah, that's beautiful. Sure. Such hope, such hope. So that's a hopeful and powerful place to end. Like the journey's not just about becoming a better performer, but like a whole person, a more whole person. So thank you again for your time and wisdom for being here today. And for everyone that has watched, thank you for being part of this conversation. Healing's a journey. It's not a destination. And as we just learned, it's one you don't have to take alone. So if you're ready to take the next step, our team at Therapevo is here, ready to help, including Ron, right? He's got that awesome connection of singing and the counseling. So the link for a free 20-minute consultation is in the description below.